Dr. Ashby, I want to start with you. The latest in your state, it hits a record for daily cases. I am not in Florida, but that is incredibly alarming to me. Can you talk me through what that looks like on the ground?
Alarming is an understatement. Where do I start? We are number one in hospitalizations in the U.S. We are number two in hospitalizations amongst children in the U.S. We are number one in Dade and Broward County for admissions for critical care in the U.S. And now we have broke our single-day record at 21,683 new infections with a positivity rate above 15%. All told, Florida is surging, and our leadership is not helping us at all. Our hospitals are getting overwhelmed. We're starting to shut down elective cases as a result of that, and that impacts other issues like heart disease, like cancer, like colon cancer, so on and so forth. And so right now, we are struggling to deal with this surge, and yet we have zero leadership from our governor, from many of our politicians, and they're really they're legitimately putting politics over people's lives. And it's tragic, and I don't know what else to say except that that something needs to be done now, because people are dying, and people will die as a result of what's happening right now with our leadership.
Debbie, what is your governor thinking?
Look, Alicia, let me just say that right now, it seems like the biggest threat to the health of Floridians is actually not the Delta variant, but Governor DeSantis. He is completely disconnected and is turning his back on teachers, on families, on our nurses and our doctors who are overwhelmed in our hospitals here in Florida, who are exhausted, who are seeing absolutely no leadership. All he cares about is his political campaign. And I think that he is going to pay the ultimate price in 2022. I can tell you that just today I was talking to someone that had voted for Ron DeSantis. And she was saying that his latest stance on trying to take away local control on mask mandates is really making her think twice. She is very disappointed that this governor is laughing at the fact that there are people that are dying right now in our state. It is shameful, and he needs to be voted out. I mean, and all of the Republicans here in the state are following his lead. So it's not just Governor DeSantis. Like you said, Alicia, it's all the Republicans here in the state of Florida, but also across the country. And it has to stop. We have to stop politicizing this. This is a danger to our children and to our families.
I mean, David, the numbers that I read at the top of this are shocking, and it is shocking when you look at it in the context of the entirety of this pandemic. Why make mask mandates specifically the hill that you die on, especially when these numbers don't lie?
Because of the rise of ignorance in American culture and American political leadership, particularly on the right side of the aisle. That's why. And I think we have to take a step back, Alicia, and begin to recognize, and I say this, not to try to get a cheap shot, but we may be entering one of the great failures in American history. Not a failure of science, but a failure of culture. Over the last 230 years, we have been provided all of the tools that have made America great, from science to industry, frankly, to sacrifice and patriotism. All of those tools we hold right in the palm of our hands. We could end this pandemic, and we're squandering it. And we're squandering it because of the examples that we are seeing in Florida. We have a political class led by Ron DeSantis, who is determined to build his political rise on this notion of freedom and ignore the fact that, as Joe Biden recently said, with freedom comes responsibility. And so Florida has entered a very dark chapter in American history, in the history of this pandemic. And it is a result of a governor who refuses to recognize that very simple measures can be taken. And look, if there was a political calculus to this for Ron DeSantis, I think the part that should worry much of America, particularly in blue states, as Debbie said, his willingness to attack local control, right? This principle that used to be the bedrock of Republican politics, that decisions made closest to the people are made best. This suggests what we are seeing right now. If Ron DeSantis became president of the United States, he would eviscerate state rights in blue states, simply for his own ideological agenda. Unfortunately for Ron DeSantis, this is about presidential politics, not about public health.
I mean, Dr. Ashby, all of this boils down to you actually end up experiencing this as it relates to your patients, because we talk about two things. We talk about disinformation, and disinformation is a big piece of this. And then we talk about the cues that people take from leadership. Very often those two things intersect. What is it that you hear from your patients?
I mean, it's unfortunate that this distrust and this misinformation/disinformation has actually permeated to patients, impacting their own vision when they regard to their health. And I actually do have patients that don't believe that the coronavirus is real, believe that the vaccine has tracking devices and magnets in it. And this is something that is being supported by people that they trust. These are our leaders who are not only propagating this information, but condoning it and perpetuating it. And, you know, the previous speaker mentioned earlier that, Ron DeSantis is actually circumventing municipalities and local governments, but he's actually circumventing us. We came out with a statement, myself and other physicians, urging him to figure out a way to get this under control. Not mentioning masks, not even mentioning lockdown, but instead of working with us, he took a political stance and attacked us and said that we would want lockdowns, wouldn't affect us. I'm a small business owner. I'm a father. Of course, it would affect me. He said that we were not knowledgeable, which is absurd, given that this is our field of study and what we do every day. And for him just to brush us off and focus on being political about this when people are literally dying is to me is the epitome of sick. And I don't use that word lightly.